Kia ora. My name is J.D. Evans. Let's read a book. This is The Unflinching Ash by Angela Armstrong. Let's get into it. In a world like ours, mystics once ruled the night. Well, so long as they were men. On Ash's day of naming, she chose the mystic path nonetheless. The same illusions that garner gasps of awe from the lamplit crowds earn her scorn from the basilica. There is only one way forward. Earn the Queen's seal, a badge of honour, and immunity. She'll simply have to avoid being hanged, burned, or drowned first. It's a witch hunt from an escape artist. Ash. There was a man with a gun, and everybody knew someone was about to be shot. Ash made a quick study of the pistol. It was studded with unnecessary domes, and had a wine-red, bulbous grip. The muzzle was excessively long, trumpetish even. The whole thing was flashy, like its bearer. Ash stood with her brother-in-law, a quince throw away from the gathered crowd, but close enough to see the man who held it well enough. Banyan. "You'll see. He'll surprise you," Wynne whispered beside her, rubbing his hands together. Ash stilled her brother-in-law's anxious tell, capping his hands with one of her own and lowering them out of sight with a sigh. She pulled her hood further forward. "Sorry," Wynne said, wincing. Ash nodded in acknowledgement, but kept her eyes fixed on the man with the gun. Banyan was about to address them. "Who would like to pull the trigger?" Banyan scanned the assembly, Ash and Wynne among them. "You? You?" He offered the ornate flintlock, grip first to one, then another. "You're wrong. He will not surprise me," Ash spoke through her teeth. Wynne nodded his head eagerly. Ash narrowed her eyes. "You, sir." Banyan dipped his head towards a man near the middle of the knight's throng. Not just any man, someone Ash knew. "No," Ash whispered her disbelief. She schooled her expression as Morlow's burliest falconer was chosen from the crowd in the square. Hallam Falconer clutched his chest and answered Banyan with a gaping, speechless mouth. "Yes, you," Banyan confirmed, flashing a smile. Not Hallam. Impossible. Yet there Hallam was, shrugging out of his mantle, passing it to his curly-haired wife. This could not be happening. Hallam Falconer, chosen by Banyan. A gull Ash and Wynne both knew. Hallam took the 3 stairs to the raised platform in a single stride. Ash wasn't the only one who knew Hallam. Wynne was beaming for a start. A wave of jostling set a tremble through the crowd as others recognized the falconer. A cluster of young ploughmen in front of Ash and Wynne changed position, forcing Ash to crane to see the platform. She kept her eyes on Banyan's hands, always on the hands. Banyan passed the pistol to Hallam, whose large paw swallowed one end of the barrel. Banyan's hands now appeared empty. "Your name?" Banyan asked, loud enough for all to hear. "Hallam, sir." Hallam!" He projected his voice the second time, realizing his answer was for the crowd as much as it was for Banyan. "Are you here with your wife, Hallam?" Banyan raised his brow. Yes, sir." Hallam's forehead began to bead with sweat. Banyan cast his eyes back expectantly into the crush of those looking on. Hallam gestured towards his curly-haired wife, Peony. A pillow of lamplight tinted the night's gathering a soft yellow. At its heart, Peony gave a modest wave. Hallam's face at seeing his beloved and her delicate response was a perfect contortion of nerves and pride. Banyan's voice boomed. "Please, come join your husband." Peony did, taking the steps one at a time, sidling up stiffly beside her falconer spouse. She held his mantle tightly across her midsection, as though it might serve as a shield against all who watched. Your name? Peony. And what is your favourite colour, Peony? Yellow, sir, Peony blushed. Something like this? Banyan swiftly drew a swath of amber silk from beneath the mantle Peony clutched. Peony's eyes flew wide. Hallam locked his arm around his wife's shoulders. Peony answered, Well, I am more fond of the colour of buttercups, but that sure is yellow, Mr. Banyan, sir. Soft laughter rippled through the assembled party. Peony's cheeks burned brighter. Peony, would you be so kind as to hold this yellow silk, like so? Banyan stretched an edge of the fabric between his fingers, allowing the square to fall in a thin wall. Peony passed her husband's mantle back to him, along with a look of uncertainty, then took Banyan's preferred silk between pincered fingers. Ah, the angle is right, but if you please... Banyan placed his hands over Peony's and adjusted her grip so that her full hand held the silk in the air. Hallam bristled at this display of familiarity before quickly checking his posture. Hallam, before we get to the business... Banyan nodded towards the pistol Hallam held. Would you do me another service? Banyan retrieved a small lead ball from a pouch at his side. Ash wanted to roll her eyes. She'd opted for squinting harder. There's more, Wynne whispered. He half lifted his hands to rub them together again before thinking better of it and dropping them. Please etch a symbol onto this, any mark of your choosing. Banyan held the gun's ammunition aloft between his forefinger and thumb. His voice easily pierced through the crowd's whispers, and the muted coos of a mother soothing a babe swaddled in a sling. Hallam offered the pistol back to Banyan to free a hand. Banyan displayed his palms. I'd rather not cast any doubt that I have tampered with the gun. Someone else should assist you. Hallam froze. Banyan turned to the crowd. Who has some experience loading a gun? A few hands raised in response. You there, please take it. Hallam handed the piece to a man in the front. Ash smiled. With the gun out of the way, Hallam retrieved his knife and took the lead ball from Banyan. The large man then knelt on his mantle and worked his tool across the ball's surface before standing and sheathing his blade. Hallam, if you please, ensure the pistol is loaded with the ball bearing your mark. Banyan's voice rang out. He offered Hallam a patch of cloth and some powder, which Hallam took over to the volunteer holding the gun. Banyan directed Hallam through the steps, loading the powder down the muzzle, wrapping the inscribed lead shot in the wad of cloth, and adding it down the chute as well. The volunteer then swiftly rammed, primed, and closed up, and offered Hallam the gun. Now Hallam was ready to shoot somebody. Ash couldn't see these smaller activities well at this range, but she didn't need to. She'd seen enough. Hallam, please take your place on the white fleur-de-lis. Banyan's gestures were flowery. Forgive me, I've neglected our aids. Peony, please, rest a moment. Peony gratefully lowered the yellow veil and released a sigh. And thank you... Banyan extended his hand to the man who had assisted by holding the pistol when Hallam's hands were full. The helper supplied his name. Thank you, John. Banyan gave John a firm handshake of introduction and thanks. Where were we? Banyan squeezed his own jaw, extracting his train of thought. Peony raised the silk in answer. Ah, yes, the lovely Peony. So we were. Banyan strode over to a stand upon the black fleur-de-lis on the far side of the stage, so that he and Hallam now bookended Peony. Hallam, are you familiar with how to fire your weapon? Hallam nodded. How is your aim? Banyan donned an expression of faux terror for laughs, which he received. I want you to aim for my mouth as best you can. Then a lead ball bearing your mark will pass through Peony's favourite colour. Well, almost her favourite colour. More laughter. The crowd had become his butter. And I will catch that ball between my teeth. Banyan turned to Peony, but spoke for all to hear. Now, Peony, it's understandable if you drop the silk after your husband has fired. It's normal for some sparks to spray, and I don't want a single hair on your lovely head to be singed. Banyan shifted one foot back as a brace, then spoke to Hallam. Now, aim for my mouth. Hallam's hand shook slightly as he released the safety lock, which was fair. He'd never shot a man, much less through a veil held by his wife. And that was the rub. why Wynne had brought Ash here. Her brother-in-law surely thought that Banyan was a bona fide illusionist if he could do all this using a trembling local. That local fired solid and sure. Peony released the silk soon after the bang, and Halam rushed to stomp on the smoking fabric and clutch his wife close. Ash's eyes were on Banyan. His head had shifted slightly, and now he stood on tiptoe. He slowly lowered himself to flat feet and pulled back his lips. Between his teeth, he held a small ball of lead. Ash nudged Wynne and made a move to leave. "I've seen enough. Let's be on our way." Wynne gaped in reply. "Wait, you haven't even seen if it's the marked bullet." "Oh, I know it is." "Then why are we leaving? Didn't he—" "I've known for a while, but I stayed in case poor Halam fired early. That might have been diverting." "He's all right, Wynne. I'll give you that, but he's no great magician." Ash's hood inclined towards Banyan. "You've found a fair manipulator, maybe, but nothing we need to worry about." Wynne remained fixed on the spot, looking to the couple on the stage, still embracing, and back at his hooded friend. Ash began to slice her way through the crowd, ignoring open mouths and the impetuous press towards Banyan's prestige. "Is this," dramatic pause, "your mark?" Banyan offered the lead ball for Halam and Peony's inspection. The falconer nodded, wide-eyed, with the promise of tears glinting. Banyan recovered the silk with a flourish and held it up on display to confirm the weapon had indeed fired, leaving a charred hole and a spray of smouldered evidence across the fabric. Ash shook her head as she moved into the shadows and out of the perimeters of the night's chicanery. The crowds were still clapping, marks that they were, or gulls as they were more commonly called around the low. Ash forgave them their applause. They knew no better. Besides, the gulls were hers to woo as well. Wynne came at her heels. "How did you know? I was sure this breath-stealing Banyan was the real deal. He's pulled a different local every show, but a local every time. They can't all be in on it, Ash. And the marked bullet means it was the same bullet." Ash bumped Wynne playfully and tugged on his sleeve. "Not here. Come with me. Then we'll talk." And so that was the first section of The Unflinching Ash by Angela Armstrong. The number one thing that I really like about this book, which is really hard to do from a very amateur author, but someone who's written a book nonetheless, is that Angela Armstrong is exceptional at writing pace and tense into scenes. And what I mean by that is using grammar, using words, and spacing out descriptions in a scene to pace the scene exactly how it would feel in real life. For example, in Chapter 2, there's a sleight of hand moment, a trick that a stranger plays, and the prospective character at the time almost catches them, almost sees them do it. They know something is wrong, but they don't figure it out in time. And it's just written so well with such excellent use of grammar and prose that the reader feels the frustration as the prospective character is trying to work out what's going on. And you sort of work out that there must have been something that happened at around about the same time as the text catches up with your brain, which is absolutely brilliant, and I love that. And it's throughout the book. And Angela's just an excellent author, and this is a fantastic book. Go and grab yourself a copy. And a reminder, Angela is a New Zealand author, an Aotearoa author. Get out there and support them. Buy New Zealand, buy Aotearoa. There'll be links in the description to their website and other places you can purchase the book. And as always, thank you very much for watching and listening, everyone. If you like this video, please do leave a like. If you want to see more like this video, please subscribe, ring the bell, and if you have any suggestions for books I might read in the future, or you want to make a comment about this video or about the book The Unflinching Ash, please comment below. And thank you so much once again. I will see you all tomorrow.